Okay, does the applicant have a presentation?
Very brief. Mr. Bassi, and thanks Matt for your very thorough staff report. What we did was we provided you with hard copies of the sort of the vignette copies that are throughout your staff report. And at the end of the staff report, at the end of the hard copies, we did go through the enumeration of all the changes that we have made throughout the last couple of months. And also, which Matt didn't touch on, we did go out and we had the property weed abated. We also had a cleanup company go in and remove the debris that was there from evidently an encampment. And also we replaced the wood fence that was called to our attention, which was on private property. At the end of the cul-de-sac coming out of Marietta, we did replace that with a white vinyl fence, and that is in place. Also, we have put in place no trespassing, no dumping signs around the perimeter of the property with the civil code citing at the correct civil code spacing with the civil code numbers on it, and to allow literally anybody to call and report dumping, report trespassing if they do see it occurring. We are in the process of also bringing in either K-rails, concrete K-rails, and or some larger boulders that couldn't be moved to put back behind the property line, behind the right-of-way line, so that there can be no further entrance into the property for dumping by contractors and landscapers and that type of thing. Those aren't in place yet. We're still going back and forth on whether those will be K-rails or boulders, and just trying to come up with a final version. So with that, what I'll do is I'll have Mr. Valdez come up. He has a pretty extensive digital representation of what the view looks like from our proposed units to the neighbors to the south, and the focus is on the interface. And then in addition to that, he also has a view of looking from their backyards up to our project too. So we sort of done both versions this time. As Matt, I think two key things that were discussed last time. There were comments by the commission to look at increasing the setbacks. We did that from 20 to 30 to 33 feet on the units that sort of the bottom of the hill, if you will. The others were further away to begin with. And also there was questions about the architecture. We removed the Spanish style architecture and took a cue off of the project up at the corner of Clinton Keith and Palomar and incorporated a more ranch style, referring to as Wildomar ranch style architecture to sort of soften and bring it more into keeping with what was felt it would be better for Wildomar. So that's all included in your package, and the larger exhibits depict that. So with that, I'll have Rich Valdez come up, and then we have our entire team here. We have our traffic engineer, our acoustic consultant, architect, landscape architect, civil engineer, water quality specialist, all here to answer your questions, any questions you may have, both at the beginning of the meeting and also to respond to comments from the public. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have at this time.
Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Mark?
Thank you. Rich, it's all yours.
Good evening. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a couple of three-dimensional models. One model, the first one we're going to look at right now, is for the purpose of studying the line of sight from the second floor windows of the Camellia townhomes down towards the Marietta homes, towards their backyards. So to begin with that, I took a strip map of that edge along the property line. It shows the townhome units at their new position. It shows, it's hard to see, but you can see the location of the existing houses on the Marietta side. The topography lines kind of show the slope that exists between the two properties. So with that strip map, I went ahead and added building pad elevations for the proposed townhomes. And I constructed those in 3 dimensions to the proper elevation of each building. I also placed representative 1- and 2-story houses at the location of the existing Marietta houses. And I painted the backyards yellow so we can see them clearly in the next few views. I painted their slope green, and here is an oblique view of that. And I painted the masonry block wall that exists along the property line a light blue color, and I painted the side yard fencing a dark blue color. Again, so when we start looking through windows in the next views, we can know what we're looking at. And then I placed trees along the edges of the townhome units according to our landscaping plan. And then the last thing I did was I constructed a model of the very end of each building. And at the very end of each building, there's 4 rooms. On the left is a bedroom, and then there's a bathroom, a loft room, and then another bedroom on the right side. So I constructed those rooms according to the dimensions of the plans. I placed them at the elevation shown on the plans. So with that, we want to look at the loft room. The window in that room was placed towards the higher end of the wall. And because that room has no other ventilation, this room needs to have a sliding window. So I've drawn the window to be half opaque, half transparent, because it might be in an open position for ventilation. And let's see here. If we kind of try to look through that window, we can see some of the rooftops beyond. But we really can't look into anybody's backyard or invade anybody's privacy. So, there we go, okay. So, if we skip over to the bedroom to the right, there's a window on the end wall. That window is going to be frosted glass with fixed panes, so you can't really see out that window. But there is a window to the side of that room, a normal window. So if we navigate over to that window, looking out of that window, just looking towards Washington. This is the very first Marietta house next to Washington. They've got a curving masonry wall that we can see there with that light blue color. Now the trees that we have planted with our project obscure views from this window into that backyard. And I should tell you, I did draw these trees at, they're 36-inch box trees, and they're purchased, bought at about a size of 13 to 15 feet in height. So I drew these trees 14 feet in height, and I placed them at the elevation shown on the design plans for our project. So that's how it would look from that end bedroom. So now if I skip over to the other side of the building, again there's another bedroom on the other side. And again the window on the end wall is frosted, it's opaque, but there is a normal window on the side wall. So if we were to look through that window, of course we can see the light blue masonry wall. We can see that some of the dark blue side yard fencing, a little bit of it. You can kind of see some of the backyard space, but not very much, and not very clear. I should tell you that the way this program is, if you look at the model vertically, straight down, the yellow is very bright, and it's clear to see. But if you look at it obliquely, it's not as bright yellow. It's just the way this model is. So if we go to the next building, and we look at, through that window, again, we see the landscaping trees that we're going to plant, and we do see houses in the background. We see the light blue masonry wall. We see a little bit of backyard there. For the most part, views are obscured by the landscaping. And we skip to the other side of the building, to the other bedroom. Look through that window. You can see, again, the light blue, the dark blue fencing, a little bit of backyard space, but a lot of the view is obstructed by trees. And what I'll also comment about this model is made to draw geometric shapes, and it's hard to model the topography of the ground. So I haven't tried to model the ground, so anything on our side of that light blue fence really isn't modeled at ground level. I'm just trying to see what it looks like out of the windows. So going to the next building, and looking through that window, now we're gaining elevation with our units, so we start to see over the tops of those trees, but not much into people's backyards.
That's a joke.
So skipping over to the other side of the building, there's that window. Try to rotate the view of that one. Getting closer. Again, the trees obscure those views.
From that angle.
So going to the next window. That's what that one looks like. Next window. That's what that looks like. Next window. That's what that looks like. Next window. Next window. Other end of the building. You can see that the line of trees that we have proposed, they sort of line up one in back of the other when you look through at a diagonal angle, and create a visual block. Next view. Next view. Next view. The last view on this model. So that's the simulations we've made from the looking from the window unit of our units, looking towards the Marietta side. Now there's another model we created, and this is for the purpose of seeing what the view of our townhomes look like from the Marietta side of the property line, looking towards us. So it's a similar model. This time I showed the exterior of our buildings are true to the plan in terms of length and width, roof pitch, distance, elevation. So this model is meant for that purpose. It's really not meant to look at colors or architectural detail. It's just in general, what do things look like from a certain point of view? And considering the elevation, considering the distances between, so that's what this model does. It's also got the trees. So if we start there on this first property next to Washington, and if we navigate to that backyard, and this model defaults, when you set a point of view, it defaults to a person standing with a 5'6" eye height. So this represents a view of a person standing up in that backyard with their eyes 5.5 feet above the ground. So this view looks sort of diagonal to the northeast, looking from that first yard into our building number 1. However, to the rear of this first lot, we have a drainage basin, so there really is no unit to that side. We do have a drainage basin. It's going to have a tree planting. So the view in this direction is going to be the tops of trees. And our basin will be recessed, so some of the trees, you can just see the top of them from this view. So if we skip to the second yard from Washington, looking directly out the backside of that house, we can see the townhome, our townhome. We can see the tree planting, and again, this is the 36-inch box at the early stages of growth. These trees will get bigger. We can see this, the masonry wall that exists right now, which is this lower wall. The upper wall is a green wall that will be built on our side, at the top, our top of slope. It'll have vines. It'll be covered with vines. We're calling it a green wall. So that's what that view looks like. And if we just kind of look to the northeast a little bit in a diagonal direction, we can see some other buildings that direction. We can see the green wall. We can see the trees in back of the green wall. We can see the townhome units. And then skipping over to the third yard, again, but in this view we start to see the backyard slope of the existing yard. But the other elements are also there, the existing masonry wall, proposed green wall, our landscaping, and then our proposed buildings. If we skip to the next yard, that's what that view looks like with the green wall. You can see their slope starts to get higher as you go from west to east. Let's skip to the next yard. That's the view there. Again, those windows on the townhome units are frosted glass. And then just continuing easterly direction, the slope, existing slope gets higher, so the view of the green wall becomes less and less as we go east. Again, the slope is getting higher. So that's what the view would be like as the best we can simulate. Okay, so now we're getting towards the end of this row of houses. That slope gets quite high. It gets to be about 30 feet high towards the east end of it. So now you know sometimes you can see the green wall, sometimes you can't. Just depends on the grade. And this is the last house in that row. And then this is just a bird's eye view. So that's the two models we've constructed to try to help people understand the visual aspects of what we're doing.
How high on the wall is the slider?
It's not dimensioned, our plans aren't, we don't have working drawings. There's different,
Approximately 6 feet.
I don't know.
We could make it whatever.
Yeah, it could be whatever it needs to be. That concludes the visual simulations that we did.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you.
Chair, I forgot to mention in my short little presentation, as you know, we've received a lot of emails and letters from the April 5th meeting. Those are in the agenda packet as an attachment for everyone to review and see. And then in the last several days, we got a number of letters in support and opposition to this project that was emailed to each one of you. We have hard copies here. This packet will be turned into a PDF and will be part of the council packet when the council meeting is set. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we did get public comments and letters, so that gets into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Bassey. Does the applicant have any more presentation?
We'll reserve any further comments until after public comment.
Okay, fine. Thank you.